know people say to you, "Hey, Red, pray for me, man."
That's right.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I'll pray for you, but I'll pray with you as well. You got to pray for
Man,
yourself, right? So it's like,
that's
yeah,
right.
we'll fight for you, but you got to fight too.
Absolutely.
I guess that's
Absolutely.
my point, bro.
I got you. You're all right.
Now, now then there are some of you who listen that we will also fight with you, and I mean that in the way you took it. We will contend with you because y'all know you listen to the show every day. Some of
I
you get up
love
in the morning, you wake up getting ready to fight with us, but it's all good. So listen, folks, this is the Power Hour coming to you live every Monday through Friday here at WURD Word Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM in the city of Philadelphia. WURDradio.com if you want to listen online from your desktop, just sitting in your virtual office or in your real office. If you are back to work, you can download the app in the App Store, Google Play, the Apple Store. I guess if there's a BlackBerry store, you can find us there as well. Or you could do one of my two favorites, YouTube Live and Facebook Live, where you can actually have an interactive conversation in real time with us and, tell us how you really feel. Not like we have to tell you that part. Listen, sitting across from me in his virtual studio is Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And the glue that holds it all together is none other than Kuwesa holding it down in the studio. What's up, Kuwesa?
Good morning.
What's up, Kuwesa? How was the ride in today?
The ride was good. Smooth, easy, a little chilly. I guess maybe because it's May, I'm still shocked that I'm this cold in the morning. But,
Yeah.
outside of that, totally fine. Just bring a jacket and, there really was hardly any traffic when I came in. So, it was pretty good.
No trucks out there today? I'm shocked.
No trucks really. Buses. A lot of yellow buses. That I
school's
was.
back.
Yeah, they are. Somebody's back. I don't know. I'm seeing all these buses. All of them, all the different types of buses that you could see for school. I've seen them. I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Always giving us our weather and traffic in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, listen, today is a very special day in the city of Philadelphia, although you wouldn't know that looking at the front page of the newspaper. Wow. I mean, I'm kind of shocked given what today is that I don't seem to find any mention of what happened on this day in 1985. Do you?
I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Wow. It's a good thing for Black Talk Radio.
Mm.
I mean, seriously. I tell folk that all the time that if a part of the reason we have black media is to bring to you first of all, our perspective on news that you hear that's going on, in society from a unique perspective, but also to bring to you stories that nobody else is talking about that are equally important, and not just to black folk, really important to everybody. And so we have a responsibility to do that. And so today, coverage on this station will be dedicated to what happened to our fellow citizens on Osage Avenue, 1985, the Move family, and also to a lesser known degree, what was not known is what happened in Chester, Pennsylvania on the same day. And to help us kick this off and to get started in this conversation as we look back are a couple of persons who have been working in a contemporary moment on the issue of reconciliation around what happened at the Move House.
Mm-hmm.
So we have with us this morning, first of all, Ulysses Slaughter. Ulysses, good morning. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on. And also joining you is Dr. Pauline B. Thompson. Good morning, Dr. Thompson.
Good morning.
Yeah, and the two of you are co-authors of a first-person account entitled Remember, and I like that, #member, Move, the Anatomy of a Reconciliation. Wow. So let's go to Ulysses first because I know that the two of you. So Dr. Thompson is a psychologist, and Ulysses, you are uh, a reconciliation expert. Help me understand that if I'm even phrasing that right.
Yeah, that would mostly be right. I've spent the majority of my life working on different types of quite difficult reconciliation situations and working in the city of Philadelphia with people around the move apology and the reconciliation that is ongoing has been my life's work.
So, and Dr. Thompson, listen, I know that psychologists have all different types of areas of expertise. So what's your contribution and what do you bring to the whole idea of reconciliation, especially when it comes to the move apology?
I've spent most of my life looking at histories of traumas, particularly racial traumas, and healing from those traumas. And reconciliation is one way that we can move toward healing.
All right. So for people who may live underneath a rock and just I don't know, may just have like dropped in this morning and you have no idea about the history of what happened on this day in 1985, let us just recap that. Did I read somewhere there like about 500 police officers and troopers showed up on Osage Avenue? Does that sound right, Mr. Slaughter?
If it's anything, it might be an underestimation, but that sounds about right.
How do you get that many people on that narrow little street?
If you were to do like an aerial perspective of it, you'd have to believe that it was pretty tight. And colleagues, friends of mine like Lynn Washington could tell better stories about what that must have looked like because he was hanging out around Cobb Street that morning and all afternoon and watched what was going on. People like him and Peter Kane and Vernon Odom, they were hanging out around. So I'm sure they can attest to the amount of police and firefighters and others that were hanging around Osage Avenue for a very long time.
So what started that morning, and it's almost 6:15 in the morning now, 6:13. But what was also going on just south of Philadelphia in Chester, about 20 minutes away, was a very similar kind of experience that I literally never heard of until we got ready to start prepping for the show here. What happened in Chester on that day?
It's 6:15 in the morning. I'm looking at a news clip, and I think I sent it over to you, but it's a news clip from the Philadelphia Daily News. And it is, they used to do, if you remember, they used to do morning papers and afternoon papers. This is the afternoon paper that actually covered what happened in Chester at 6:15 at 6 and McIlvaine Street in Chester. So I'm looking at this article, and it says, woman, 5 kids, gas from Chester move home. Now, this is 6:15 in the morning, May 13th. This is almost 12 hours before the bomb is dropped on Osage Avenue. So what this represents is a coordinated effort. This is a coordinated effort by police departments, at least in the tri-state area, to attack the Move family. There's a book called Attention Move. This is America. I'm looking at it, and it mentions the Chester situation as well. And I want to make this point that the police officer, he was a Chester police officer. His name was Richard Conway. He said that we had been waiting to do this for well over a year, so it would not become a safe house for in the event that anybody fled from Philadelphia to Chester. I need to repeat that. They had been waiting to do this for more than a year. A year. So this would take us back to 1984. So before the bomb is dropped on Osage Avenue at 527, a woman and 5 children are gassed out of a house in Chester, Pennsylvania at 6:15 in the morning. Now, we're glad Pauline and I were able to help introduce an apology to City Council in Philadelphia, and we appreciate Councilwoman Gauthier, who championed that, and Helen Gim, who championed that. we ask the same thing of the people in Chester City to at least acknowledge what happened in the role that the Chester Police Department played in what happened in Chester to move. They refused. And so it's an unfortunate thing, and I totally agree with you that were it not for WURD and dedicated, courageous black media, nobody would ever hear this story. Nobody would know what happened in Chester. Nobody would know what happened in Philadelphia. Dr. Thompson has worked with students at Penn State who live down the street or live on the block of Osage Avenue and have no clue of what happened in the area where they live. So we need to keep talking this up. 36 years later, we need to keep talking this up. We can't stop talking about this.
Well, what is the disposition of the family that was displaced in Chester? I mean, we know a little bit about what's happened to the African family that was here in Philly. What happened to the African family that was in Chester?
I have some ideas, and I don't want to, if you'll forgive me here, I don't want to get into that because there's some sensitivities here, and I don't want to cross the line that I shouldn't cross. I do know that all of them, most of them, if not all of them, are still alive. But one of the things that I'll say is that just like what happened on Osage, first of all, the building, the building that the home that used to be at 6th and McIlvaine is no longer there. And the people who live there, many of the people who live there don't know what happened on that block. And the history continues to be felt. Even if you don't know a lot of the time what happened, people still get the feeling. It's like it's in your blood that something happened, and you have to live with that, and you have to live with it even though you don't know what happened.
Wow. Well, again, if you're just tuning in this morning, we don't typically have guests this early in the show, so you may be saying, what, did I miss something? Did I oversleep? No. We're actually talking this morning to Ulysses Slaughter and Dr. Pauline Thompson, who is a psychologist, about their work in helping bring together a very important apology as it relates to MOVE. Now, we're going to talk about the apology when we come back on the other side of the break that we're going to take in a moment. But, you know, let me just ask you this, Dr. Thompson, you know, did you ever, I mean, what kind of like aha moments have happened for you through this process? I mean, we haven't kind of really laid it out yet, but have you had like just moments that just, I don't know, confirm things that you thought before or surprised you? What's been the kind of the big thing for you working on this?
A big part for me, in which I talk about in the paper that you referred to, that we wrote about our experiences with this, but I think that for me, it's always hurt to learn about how women and children are harmed. And in the history of events that led up to the MOVE bombing in 1985, and indeed in the Chester house, where the siege was at the Chester house, it was a woman and 5 children. In the events leading up to the Philadelphia incident on May 13th in 1985, there were so many incidents of women, of pregnant women, of Life Africa who was killed, that was never investigated. All of these events that just went, that just weren't paid attention to, and then people were surprised when people were so upset about how they were treated. That for me is something that continually comes up as, you know, then you fast forward and look to the end and go, I don't understand why everybody's acting this way. And you look at the history, and you know, I say that people's behavior makes absolute sense. If you don't understand their behavior, it's because you haven't seen what led up to it. And it makes sense if you just unpack it and figure it out. It's not really that hard. And the MOVE family had been through the police brutality that they had experienced was unbelievable. and that for me is the aha moment.
Wow. Well, listen, we got to take a quick break. It's 6:20 in the morning. And again, we're talking to Ulysses Slaughter, who is an expert in reconciliation and has his own story that is quite powerful. And Dr. Pauline Thompson, a psychologist. And we're going to talk about how reconciliation can be a method of remembering and healing historical human rights abuses. And we got one of those stories right here in Philadelphia. This is the Power Hour. Sitting across from me, Bishop Dwayne David Royster, and myself, Mark Kelly Tyler. We'll be right back on the other side.
I'm Judge Kateria McCabe, candidate for Common Pleas Court. I'm an Army veteran and practiced law almost 30 years before being appointed in 2019. My job in family court is to protect children and keep families together. I'm endorsed by the Democratic Party, Black clergy, and recommended by the Bar Association. I humbly seek your support to continue service in family court. Please elect Kateria McCabe, ballot number 13, fair, respectful, and committed to justice.
Jefferson Health offers no-cost COVID-19 testing sites at St. Raymond of Pinafort Church. Testing is on Thursdays and Saturdays. The second testing location has been added at Richard Allen Preparatory Charter School. Testing is on Wednesdays and Fridays. For testing hours and more information, visit jeffersonhealth.org/community testing. From safe to seamless, convenient to contactless, and local to express, SEPTA is the Philly way to go. Plan your trip at iseptaphilly.com.
Tired of doom scrolling? Discover a new way to social distance with Philadelphia's own Curtis Institute of Music. This spring, Curtis presents more than 24 free virtual concerts. From virtuosic solos to premieres of new orchestra music, the Curtis Institute cultivates world-class artists right here in Philly. Explore thrilling performances delivered straight to your inbox. See, hear, and feel the power of world-class performances by a new generation of musical legends. Join www.curtis.edu/performances.
In Philadelphia, everyone is reading this year's free library One Book, One Philadelphia featured selection, The Tradition. Jericho Brown's 2020 Pulitzer Prize-winning poetry collection weaves national history with the deeply personal. Youth companion selections include The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo and Hey Black Child by Useni Eugene Perkins and Brian Collier. One Book, One Philadelphia features 8 weeks of programming through June 9th. Visit freelibrary.org/onebook for the full calendar of online events.
WURD Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison of Reality Check and City Council Live. Black communities have the most problematic relationship with America's court system. No other demographic group in the country, and definitely in Philadelphia, is the constant target of racist laws, biased judges, and unfair sentencing. So, of course, you want to vote in this year's May 18th primary to determine who sits on what judicial bench in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. Learn more about state races like Supreme Court, Superior Court, and Commonwealth Court, as well as local contests for Court of Common Pleas and Municipal Court. And don't forget election judges and inspectors as well. Create your ballot at the Committee of 70's website, 70.org, to learn more about the candidates, or go to phillyvotes.com. Continue to follow @onWURD and #WordOnPolitics for analysis and updates, and tune in to WURD Radio for special election coverage. Don't talk about your vote, cast it.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit wordradio.com. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Bishop Dwayne Royster along with the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. We are joined, especially this morning, remembering the anniversary of the MOVE bombings, both here in Philadelphia and a MOVE attack by the Chester Police Department this day 36 years ago. We're joined by Dr. Pauline Thompson and Mr. Ulysses Slaughter, who were really instrumental in helping to begin a healing and reconciliation process that is ongoing in the city of Philadelphia around the MOVE incident.
You know what? So I'm reading your paper, Ulysses and Doc Thompson, and I read the timeline. So you all actually brokered a meeting with Mike Africa Jr. and Wilson Good Sr., who was the mayor at that time. And you know what's really interesting about this? I was doing a morning show on a different station at the time, back in June of 2018, when Debbie Africa was released, and had Mike Jr. and Debbie on the show like 2 days later. And Wilson Good reached out to me. It was like, I'd love to tell my side of the story someday. I was like, have you spoken to them? He said, no. I said, can I put you all in touch? He said, I'd love to. I reached out to Mike and said, hey, can I put you in touch with him? He said, let me think about it. And they end up talking. So the action that then happened later at the naming of the street, so you had that little bit of history before. So I didn't even realize all the rest of this happened. That's just amazing. Again, talking about just like the power of, Black radio. Right. I mean, so that was my entry point to this. How did you all come into this later in 2018 how does a reconciliation expert and a psychologist connect with Mike Africa Jr. and the former mayor of Philadelphia?
Well, Brother Shamari, who is one of the hosts there at WURD, is a longtime friend of mine and has known my commitment to reconciliation. And I have to say, back in 2012, I was working on another project, and he came to me and he said, you should focus some of your energy around reconciliation with Wilson Good Sr. and the Move family. And at the time, because of what I was doing, I couldn't. And so he had this idea 6 years before it actually happened.
Wow.
And when the street signing matter came up, he came to me again and said, look, this is the opportunity to make something happen. And I certainly appreciate his respect for my commitment to reconciliation and what I loosely call my abilities, because it's hard to do this type of stuff, so I don't ever want to make it sound like I know what I'm doing. It is hard to do this type of stuff. But he came to me again and said, look, the street signing thing is an opportunity. Let's make something happen. And Pauline and I are married, and so it was pretty easy for me to turn to my wife, who's done a lot of this all around the world, and say, I need your help. So we wound up getting together with Mayor Good, Mike Jr., Brother Shamari. I mean, the list of people that we were able to engage is amazing. We talked with former Mayor and Governor Ed Rendell. We talked with Frank Powell, the guy who dropped the bomb. We talked with Lynn Washington. We talked with so many people who had something to say about this that what we came up with was there needs to at least be an apology here. Somebody needs to apologize. And Mayor Good was saying, it's about time for the city to apologize. So we kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and ultimately we came up with a draft apology. Everybody looked at it and said, yeah, this works. We passed it on to Jamie Gauthier and Helen Gim, and we got the apology at least through City Council of Philadelphia. And that's kind of where we stand right now.
First of all, I like how you just slid in. Well, she's my wife, so so it's easy to get the psychologist there. Look. So Brother Shamari and I, when I listen to Brother Shamari, I often think that we're like on the same wavelength. So that's amazing that even 6 years before any of this, that he's already like thinking that, advancing it, and pushing it, and just this confluence of events that probably just kept coming back that ultimately helped this whole thing, make sense. Royster, this is, what kind of sticks with me, and I've been thinking about this morning, is you have in this one incident for Black Philadelphians, the epitome of Black Philadelphians at our highest and at our lowest in the same story. Mm-hmm. Wilson Good is the first Black mayor, something that Philadelphians probably thought could never happen of a certain age. And then in that same period of time, under his administration, a bomb is dropped, killing 11 people, 5 children, and it's, you grew up in Philly, I didn't. Just how does that work? These extremes that happen for Black folk, it seems like we can't celebrate the good for something so tragic always being attached to it.
Yeah, the move incident was always very interesting for me. So my aunt, my mother's sister, lived at 62nd and Delancey. And so she offered a little bit of a different perspective on all of this from somebody that was living in the neighborhood and, struggling with everything that was going on at the time. As a matter of fact, at one point, police had cleared out their block while they were, doing all these things, and just considering the disruptive nature about how all of this went down. I remember seeing this on the news. It was like everybody was glued to the TV. All day this day, watching what was going on. It had been, going on for days already before this, this finally occurred. So yeah, I mean, the whole city was captivated by what was going on. And, I think even as I'm reading the paper, they were talking about the old guard, versus the new, generations. And, Philadelphia was a very different city back then. I mean, even with Wilson Goode as the first mayor, I'm often reminded that first blacks, when they get into positions, often find themselves in unenviable positions, trying to satisfy both the white guard that got them into that role and then trying to satisfy the black community simultaneously. And it's a very difficult place to be in. Wilson Goode faced challenges that Mike Nutter and John Street and others never would. And this was actually one of those circumstances that was just very complicated in the notion of human history, where black respectability became important, right? We needed to identify, show up as Americans in a way that was really identifying with white folk and not identifying with the truth of what it meant to be black in America at that particular moment in time. So, yeah, I remember these days. This was a painful time in our history. We talked about it in school. We wrestled with the decisions that were made, and some of us did not come to conclusions on the side of MOVE at that time, if I were to be real honest, right? We were just looking and saying these folk are distractions, they're making noise, they're disturbing people and communities that are hardworking in that particular moment in time. And part of that was folk just didn't have all the story. And I think that really plays a large part in all this as well.
That raises an interesting question. So either Dr. Thompson or Ulysses, have you encountered in this process the need for a community apology to WURD? Because I heard, again, I've been in Philly since, the early 2000s. And so this was a story that I grew up with in that same way. But I've heard members of my congregation and Mother Bethel say similar things as what Bishop just said, which is that, a lot of them feel bad because at the time they didn't feel like they really had the backs of the MOVE family, the African family. Has there been talk about a way in which the community itself, the black community in particular in Philadelphia, needs to apologize?
Yeah, we've had a number of conversations about the number of apologies that should be offered back and forth between different groups of people. We can't apologize enough between community members and MOVE, first responders and community members. I mean, it's just it's like this constant overlapping thing where there's enough blame to go around, and there's enough apologies to go around. And so we've had these conversations, and sometimes people will say, what good is an apology? And we say that it's the beginning. It's not the end. It's the beginning of a new conversation when you apologize. It opens the door to something new. It doesn't close the door. So we're not sitting here right now and having this conversation with you were it not for the apology that was passed. A lot of people would have never known about what happened to MOVE. The number of people who I still talk to who are in my age group or older who don't know what happened to MOVE is just unbelievable. So apologies, when somebody offers an apology, the question becomes, well, what are you apologizing for? And that's when the conversation starts. So we've talked with people in the Osage area about being part of this process, and it is an ongoing process. We are talking about what is the next chapter. How do you continue to tell this story? Who should tell the story of MOVE beyond the MOVE family members? There are a lot of people that were impacted. A lot of people have something to say. And I think there's enough blame and enough apologies to go around.
Wow. Hey, Dr. Thompson, we're coming up on a break, and we're unfortunately have to wrap this in a moment, but how important as a psychologist is, the need to apologize for both the offender and the offended? I mean, just for your own mental health. Can we just kind of move on through life without it and we'll still be good? Why is this important?
Well, I think isn't that the million-dollar question right there? Because I think there's a lot of, like Ulysses said, some people think, what good is an apology? And there's a quote from Hornsey and Wall in our paper that I think really speaks to at least one of the ways of why an apology is important. So I'll just read that, and that is that an apology is an acknowledgement of past harm, an affirmation of shared moral standards, a recalibration of power and status relationships, a bestowment of dignity, a symbolic gesture of intent for the future, and a chance to lay to rest ghosts of the past. And those, I think, are aspirational. They can give us something to work on. Like Ulysses said, an apology is a start. It is certainly not meant to be the end. It is certainly not meant to be something that is like, oh, well, we apologize, so everything's better now, right? But it creates an opportunity for the next chapter. So, okay, how are we going to, this is one step in the healing process. It's an acknowledgement, and we can start to move forward towards healing.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, to the both of you, we really want to thank you for helping us kick off our day of remembrance here at WURD. And thank you for the paper. I think we can post it in the chat as well. Is there a place where people can find more information, Ulysses?
Well, they can go to, I have some information on my website, which is ulyssesbutchslaughter.com. And people can reach me at that same name through Gmail if they want some more specific information, they want to get involved. We continue to do presentations and conversations about this to people like the Chester Housing Authority in Delaware County, Brandywine and Chester Housing Authority that continue to help us put out information about this because it needs to stay alive. So anybody who wants to reach me can reach me at my website or my email address, and we'd love to continue to move this story forward so that we don't see this happen again. That's why we're doing this. We don't want to see this happen again. Mm-hmm. So thank you both. Thank you to Sarah Lomax Reese at URD. Thanks to my brother Shamari. And we look to talk to you both again soon.
All right, give me that website one more time.
Mm-hmm. It's my name. It's ulyssesbutchslaughter.com. All
right, I'm looking right at it right there. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ulysses, and thank you, Dr. Thompson. You all have a good day, and I'm sure you're going to be busy on the day. I'm sure we're not the only people you'll be talking to. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Yep. Wow. Man, like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, it's just hard. This reminds me of, folk in the community wanted peace, mm-hmm. And they called the police to get some peace. And it's much the same as what we contend with today, that people call the police because their loved one's having a mental break or some, incident that shouldn't escalate too high, gets hot and heavy, and then people wind up dead. And that is just, it's just tragic and painful.
Bro, you just said a word right there. Seriously, that is, good Lord, that is so powerful. I was doing a funeral not so long ago. And, like funerals do, sometimes people are heated. Funerals bring out the worst because everybody's grieving. And so you want to blame somebody and everything gets animated. And there was some concern about somebody, some folk turning up. People might have been armed, things of that nature. And immediately one of the relatives, ran up to me during the funeral, like, Reverend, call the police. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't know if you want to do that. Yeah, I mean, things are out of hand, but let's see if we can't just kind of calm things down because, you know, the police tend to think what we mean is come kill somebody.
Right.
And that's actually not really what we meant. We meant like the noise was too loud with the music, or we didn't like the way the yard looked, or my sibling, is having a mental health challenge, but we're not really saying we want you to come kill somebody.
Right.
And so that is bro, we're still right here. I mean, Walter Wallace was shot and killed like doors from where Pam Africa lives right now.
Yep. Yep.
In front of her car.
Yep.
And so
I can't even imagine the trauma of that, the re-traumatizing impact of that.
Man, I'm telling you, we got to take a break. I got to sit with what you said. Because that's just, I'm agreeing with Deborah. You said a mouthful. And we need a break on that one. It's 6:41 in the morning. We'll be back on the other side. And, it's the Power Hour. Don't move.
Between family dinners, bedtime stories, and study sessions, Pico knows that life never stops moving. So if you need help paying your energy bills, there are financial programs available, like the Customer Assistance Program, or CAP, that offers a monthly credit that can lower your gas and electricity payments. Learn how Pico can help keep your life moving with CAP. See if you qualify at pico.com/CAP.
Philadelphia, it's State Representative Joanna McClinton. The stakes in this year's district attorney's race couldn't be higher. For decades, the DA's office devastated black communities through brutal punishment while never holding police accountable. DA Larry Krasner has changed that in just 3 short years, while his opponent spent 35 years relentlessly pushing the policies that destroyed our communities. We cannot let him take us back. We have everything to lose. We must keep moving forward. Vote now, vote early, vote Krasner for DA on May the 18th.
Paid for by Krasner for DA.
We do all we can to ensure our kids are happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Having high-quality, low-cost health insurance helps make that possible. With CHIP, your child can have medical, dental, eye care, and more for free or low cost. Whether you're self-employed, unemployed, or your employee benefits are just too expensive, CHIP is there for you to help your child be strong. CHIP Strong. Apply or renew today at 800-986-KIDS or go to chipcoverspakids.com.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Stage Door, focusing on arts and culture in and around Philadelphia. Hosted by Tiffany Bacon and co-moderated by Jeffrey Page of the Philadelphia Theater Company. Part of The Source, Fridays at noon, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. Sponsored by New Voices sponsor Comcast, NBC Universal, and Pico. Tune in to Save Space with Sincerely Sarita, Mondays at 8 p.m. discussing financial literacy tips with certified financial advisor Joanna Jane. Brought to you by AARP Philadelphia, exclusively on WURD Radio and WURD TV.
Tune in this Saturday at 3 p.m. for the We Dream About Real Estate and More show with Hakeem Singleton and Matt King, where you will learn how to buy a house responsibly, travel on a budget, and look good while doing it.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. 95 southbound getting busy. Cotman down the bridge again. Betsy Ross through Girard. Northbound side looking good. Westbound 5. About volume there. Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill eastbound busy. Blue Route through the curve. Again, delays up between Passyunk and Broad through construction. Westbound side Broad to Passyunk also heavy through that work zone. Southbound Boulevard Route 1. Delays Broad down to Fox through construction. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 a heavy ride. Staples Connect helps your business grow with custom printed sales and marketing materials. Now get 15% off signs, posters, and deals when you spend $75 or more. Off rents $5.29. Visit staples.com/signage for details. Staples Connect, the working and learning store. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A jacket this morning, sunglasses through the day. A beautiful spring day ahead with temperatures climbing into the low 70s, a high of 72 this afternoon. Pleasant this evening, dipping down into the 60s during the evening hours and a low of 50 Friday morning. Another beautiful sunny day up to 74. This weekend, sunshine in the morning, clouds in the afternoon, just a chance of some scattered showers and highs in the low to mid 70s. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We've spent a good deal this morning talking to Dr. Pauline Thompson and Ulysses Slaughter about the move bombings that occurred on this day 36 years ago in 1985. Talking about reconciliation, and not only reconciliation, but what happened in Chester, Pennsylvania that morning, where a woman and several children were removed forcibly by the Chester City Police Department from their home there, that would later conclude in what appeared to be a coordinated action also happening in the city of Philadelphia at the same time. Rough memories, very hard memories as they even sit with them at this moment in time. And appreciative of what both Dr. Thompson and Ulysses Slaughter, along with Michael Africa Jr. and Mayor W. Wilson Good, who began a very difficult reconciliation process and a process towards healing and restoration, which is still ongoing, right? These things don't happen in one-off events where you apologize one time and it's all said and done. It will take years for things to occur. You know, it just occurred to me, though, as I was thinking about this, and somebody had posted something about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, similar to what they had done in South Africa. And I'm like, you know, in the United States, and in particular in Philadelphia, when it comes to policing and government policies and government leadership, we would actually need, MOVE is a small part of a much bigger problem. That would require probably a decade of work of truth and reconciliation, where people were making confession about how their policies and how their actions were tainted by white supremacy and definitive racism against black folk or anti-blackness. That would be a very long process, and it would also require the commitment of those that were in power, those in policing right now, to make a firm commitment to stop doing what they were doing and submit themselves to that process. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying, and it probably needs to be done, because I don't know what other way we actually can move forward.
Well, you know, this country, let's just say Western society, right? That there is, and every kind of like society is built differently. And so part of the way that this society has been built is that to acknowledge wrongdoing is to show weakness.
Yeah, yeah.
Donald Trump was what made him so popular, particularly with like white working class men, is that he embodied what they believed to be kind of the old John Wayne type, the never say you're wrong even if you are wrong, right? And so the idea that, people in today's world, like, we demand not only reparations, but let's start with an apology for slavery. It's like, we'll never apologize for slavery, colonization. I mean, and you're starting to hear his adherents say that now as well. Like, why should we apologize to the indigenous people of this country? I think, in fact, our own former Senator, Rick Santorum, if I'm not wrong about it, was recently criticized for making the same kind of statement that there was nothing in America before white men came and
he did
made
say
it.
that.
Right. So you're talking about reparations, man. We can't even get a sincere apology, right? And I don't know what that's about. I mean, fast forward to the headlines yesterday, and you got like all these. I mean, the newsreel that they put together on one morning show that I saw this morning of sitting white male and female U.S. representatives and U.S. senators trying to explain away January 6th as if you didn't have the media hyping it up, you would have thought it was just a tour on January 6th. I'm like, yeah, a tour where you take a fire extinguisher and kill somebody.
Yeah, I don't understand how they could even remotely get to that place.
I mean, well, because it's the same thing, right? It's like, you know, why should we apologize for Move? Why should we apologize for Walter Wallace? Why should we apologize for George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Oscar Grant, on and on and on and on? And so it just, you know, this is, we can't move forward, not only because we can't, you know, change practices and policies and the outlook, but it seems like just the very simple act that these two were talking about of acknowledging wrongdoing, that I wronged you and I have to own that, and there's nothing else to add.
Yeah. I don't know. This is all just, and this morning, it's just frustrating this morning.
Well, don't worry about it. As soon as you go outside, you can't find any gasoline, you'll forget all about this.
Yeah.
You'll be in gas line. Like, was I just thinking about? I can't find any gas. You'll be fighting like the people on that viral video, punching each other out over a gallon of gas.
Really? I didn't see that viral video, and I'm not sure that I want to. I've seen gas lines already looking a little crazy.
Yeah.
So even though the pipeline is now up and running again, they got the pipeline up and running. It's just going to take a couple days to catch up.
Well, we love fighting over shortages, but I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I just, I hope that at some point, I mean, it'd be wonderful if we were talking about this as pure history, and it's like what happened in 1985 was so horrible, but you know what? We have learned so much since then, and today nothing like that would ever happen again. And then yet you turn on the news. Ahmaud Arbery's, killers are like being tried in federal court or being charged in federal court. You got, issues here around police accountability. We're still trying to raise the police department's budget, and at the same time, we want to choke off funding for police oversight. And so, yes, it would be one thing if we seem to be like a learning society, but that part seems to just, sometimes you look at it and say the only difference between 1985 and 2021 are the cars that we drove and the fashion that we have.
Yeah. Well, and we're still trying to perpetuate lies too, right? So Liz Cheney lost her post yesterday.
Yeah.
There was a letter that came out from 120 former flag officers of the U.S. military. Those would be generals and admirals to Joe Biden, basically saying to President Biden that he was elected fraudulently and that it's a lie, and they have deep concern about his mental health capabilities, about whether he's able to, lead the country in this particular moment in time. So, yeah, we still have crazy going on at the same moment. There's 100 Republican leaders that have announced that they are preparing to leave the Republican Party and potentially start a third party, which will fracture the Republicans. Although, to be quite frank, I don't think the Democrats are too far behind. I think we're getting ready to go through another seismic shift in this country. And I don't know if it's going to make it better or going to make it worse. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But I know we're facing some real challenges ahead.
Wow. Is the passport office still open? Are they still functioning?
Yes, I believe they are at the moment. As I used to tell my wife, I'm like, if it gets crazy over here, we're going to South Africa until Cape Town almost ran out of water. And then I was like, we're not going to South Africa. So.
Your money will go longer if you just go to Mexico. I'm just saying, bro.
But Mexico got its own problems with black people. So,
this may
be
true.
Black. I need to go to a country that's black.
I'm just saying, until you can get there, bro, you got to take your time. Hey, Africans went to Mexico. You've seen the pyramids there,
I know
right?
there are Africans in Mexico, and they're actually continuing black Mexican communities that exist right now. But I want to go to a country where black folk are in the majority. That's where I want to go.
That's called East Oakland. West Philly. All right, folks. Look, man, I think that's all we have time for today. Prayers for all of the families who are impacted by this, the MOVE families, and then other families as well who kind of relive their own trauma as days like this are remembered, and there's so much focus. And let's continue to fight not only to preserve the memory, but let's also fight to make this a different world. We can have a world where citizens control their police department, radical idea, I know, and rein them in and prevent them from doing things like, oh, I don't know, dropping bombs on homes. So until that day comes, we who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes.
Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything you do. Thank you for Kwesi for holding down the boards. Thank you, Dr. Pauline Thompson and Mr. Ulysses Slaughter for joining us this morning. Listen, family, stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones coming up next. And do us a favor. Look, after this day of all days, please go out and change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.